Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Still That Girl series. I am your host, Jory Martin. Today, we are going to talk about a very sensitive topic that has affected individuals worldwide. It pertains to the public release of private videos without consent. Today, to talk about her experience, I have my friend, Sherona.
Hi!
And as you can tell, she's a very bubbly person. How are you doing, Sherona?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Just before we jump into it, do you want to tell them how we met each other?
Okay, so we met during, I wouldn't say quarantine, but we met at the airport, really and truly. I just decided to go over and sat down on the step, and we were both cursing the officials. And we became roommates, not roommates, but neighbors, I should say, during quarantine, and boom!
Yes, we've been... I guess it was fate because our personalities just clicked
one time.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. Oh, well, before we jump into it, we're going to start with an icebreaker.
Okay,
that was already kind of a bit of an icebreaker, but
right.
The official icebreaker. And so you're going to pick a question from the jar, hand it to me, and I'm going to read it to you.
Okay, no problem. Get down here.
Most people go for the one on top, but no, you're good. Okay, this is not a bad one. If you could be immortal, what age would you choose to stop aging at and why?
That's a hard one because I just started life. I'd say 28.
28?
So I like even numbers, and I feel like 28 is grown enough, but just not as close to 30.
But still young. Okay.
You know?
That's a good one.
Right.
So Sherona, just talk about your childhood, growing up. What kind of activities were you involved in? Talk about your childhood leading up to high school.
Up to high school, okay.
Or your last year in high school, I should say.
Okay. So I wasn't born here. I was initially born in Florida, but obviously I would have grown up in Antigua. I went to St. John's Catholic Primary School. Big up yourselves. And I was pretty involved in school. I was usually the top of my class. I was in the reading competition when I was in the 4th grade. I won that, went to St. Kitts. What else? I was valedictorian of my grade 6 class. I was prefect, house captain. So I was pretty involved in school. Primary school, that is. Moving to secondary school now, I was involved, but I don't think as much because I realized I kind of really don't like school. But in secondary school, I did a few things as well. I was in dance club because dancing, I eat, breathe, and sleep dance. I was also choreographer for our special drills. I did marching for youth rally. I was prefect, peer supporter, nominee for head girl. Basically, more or less an all-round student. And in my 5th form year, I would say I kind of fell back a bit because I pushed myself to the limit where I just kind of decided, you know what, it is what it is. I'm going to just leave it and whatever happens, happens. And it wasn't the best because I also feel like I could have done more, but it wasn't my worst decision because I felt like in that entire year, I figured out a lot of different things about myself. And I remember he had stopped going to school for like a whole month before CXC just because I was so overwhelmed with, well, I went to cry seeking, I should say. I don't think I mentioned that. But overwhelmed with the gossip, the drama, it's always some sort of bickering when you go to an all-girls school. So I took a month away from that to study by myself at home, and it actually turned out pretty well because I passed all my subjects, all 12. Can't really tell you the results right now because I can't remember. But overall, my fifth form year was more about finding myself, which sounds very cliche, but finding myself more than actually being the whole goody-goody and on top with my schoolwork that everybody was so accustomed to.
And you're forgetting one important detail of an activity that you participated in.
Did I? Oh, I did Teen Splash.
Yeah.
I did. Well, yeah, I did. I was also into pageantry. I did a pageant when I was in primary school as well. Then I did Queen of the Forms. Well, I won Queen of the Forms in secondary school. I did Teen Splash. I got, I think, second runner-up, if I'm correct. I can't remember. And I also went to St. Kitts to do the Haynes Smith Miss Talented Teen, which is a regional competition. Unfortunately, I didn't place, but that was also a pretty good experience because you met different individuals from different countries who had different upbringings, and it was overall one of my favorite experiences throughout my fifth form year.
Well, let's talk about well-rounded.
Right.
Sherona, I know that there was a very intimate recording of you and another individual, and it was leaked for the public's viewing.
Yes.
So tell us about that. Was it a mutual decision, or were you blindsided?
Well, yes. Yes, that's the elephant in the room. It was consensual, and initially, I really don't know why, but I feel like it was just more or less an experiment at the time being. And obviously it was somebody I trusted. And yes, it was consensual, but then after I found out that it was out for the public's viewing, that was where everything kind of fell apart. It mainly was for, I don't think it was for us to view, like just sit down and watch like a movie. Oh, let's watch some Netflix now. But as I said, it was an experiment. That's literally all it was.
How did you find out that your video actually got out, and what was your initial thought or feelings?
Okay, so at first it was a picture only, and it was released in, I think, August, and I can't really remember how I got aware of it. I think it was my friends who initially brought it to my attention. And I figured, like everything else in Antigua, it would stay for 9 days, get talked about, and then just blow over. However, I went to England for about 2 or 3 weeks, came back, and when I came back, the video was released, which is sort of an odd timing because, why wait in between that time? You had the picture, why not just put everything out there at first, which is my initial thought. The video was brought to my attention by my friends as well. Oh, God bless their souls. Yes, we have a group chat with just a few of us, my small circle, and they were like, hey, do you know that there was this video circulating? So initially, my heart kind of dropped. I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Can't be me. Can't be me. And then it was sent in the group, and I was like, wow.
It really is.
Wow, that's crazy. That was even crazier. So they were initially the ones who brought it to my attention, and I don't know how I felt. I really didn't. I was in shock. I was more shocked than anything else. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad at the moment. It was just, wow. That's the only word I could use to describe it. Wow.
And at the time, was the guy in the video your boyfriend, or who was he?
Man bad. However, we were in what people like to call, like what these young people like to call.
Deal. I'm in a deal.
I'm in a deal. Situationship.
Okay.
We didn't have a title, but everybody knew, okay, it was me and him at that time.
Okay. And you said you really trusted this person. Were you guys seeing each other for a long time? How long was it before?
We had known each other throughout childhood because we actually grew up in church. Oh God, that sounds really bad. But yes, we grew up in church together, and he became more like the delinquent and stopped coming to church. So we lost contact, and then his mother and I became close because I used to dance in the church as well, and she was one of the persons who were dancing with me. And eventually we began talking over Instagram, I think, and we caught up and went out once or twice, and things kind of escalated from there. We became more or less exclusive, and yeah.
At the time when everything happened, you were obviously living with your parents. So what were their reactions? Were you the one to tell them, or how did they find out?
So at the time, I had already known it was being circulated, but I didn't tell my parents because obviously, how do you just randomly walk up to your mom, hey, guess what? No, that would probably result in my two front teeth missing. So I was at work at the time, at my desk, and I was just going about my day. I kind of already expected it, but I just didn't know when. And my phone rang, the office phone rang. So I answered it because I know normally people don't call me during work. I was on my cell. And so I said, hello, my mom, Sherona. So I was like, oh, crap, this is it. Cut now. I said, hi, Mom. Do you know of something being circulated with you and a young man? I said, I don't know what you're talking about now. Me, you play like me shock, cause me shock. But I kind of kept up the dumb act until she said, if it's you, I am not going to yell at you or shout at you, but I just want you to know that it's getting out of control. And when she said that, I kind of had this sinking feeling because it now felt like all eyes were on me. Even though I know it probably wasn't, that was the initial thought as soon as she said that. And she said, I'm going to have to tell your dad. And that made me sink into my shell even more because my father is a very old school kind of person, and those things were not acceptable at all in his household. So it was like, even now just remembering it, my heart is racing. And that happened, I think, the Tuesday, and the video was sent to him by the Friday, and it was September the 13th, 2019. I remember the day because it was a Friday, and it was Friday the 13th, and I was just, I don't know, I already had this sort of feeling, like, they always say Friday the 13th are unlucky. I don't know if it was intuition or if it was just this gut feeling, but I know something was going to go down that day, and it did. I was on my way home, and my grandmother called, and she was like, y'all need to come here now because Sherona's dad is having a fit. And my mom looked at me because she knew what was the reason. So we went there, and long story short, it was chaos. So yeah.
Okay, and you said that it was being circulated on Facebook, WhatsApp, or
initially it was WhatsApp. And because Facebook had so many restrictions with what you can and can't post, people were posting references to it on Facebook as well as Twitter. And those were the only platforms I knew of at the time.
Okay. And how long after it happened did you go away for college?
So everything would have exploded, I should say, the 13th of September, and by the 10th of October, I was out for college.
So was going to college right after high school something that you always wanted to do, or did the whole situation affect your decisions to go earlier?
Initially, I had planned to go to performing arts school in England this September. And I also had the dream, I should call it, of becoming a veterinarian. So I was a bit on the fence of what course I would have started first, although they kind of blended into each other because it's dance science and a doctorate. They both needed science subjects. I would say that the internet did indeed like speed up the process, because I would have left, if I was to go with my original plan, I would have left in December rather than October. So although it wasn't that much of a drastic move up in my dates to leave, it still was a bit quickly, because as I said, basically a month after it happened, or less than a month after it happened, I was out of here. Deuces.
Yes. And we know, we kind of touched on this already, but we know in the world today how quick people are to share stuff via Facebook, via social media on a whole, neglecting the damage they can really do on or caused by sharing. They don't even think about these things, honestly.
They don't.
Okay, Sherona, so at first, when you got the news, did you feel your reputation was tarnished and there was no coming back from it, especially since you were so heavily involved and viewed in the public's eye, especially with 13 Splash and these other activities that you were doing?
To be very honest with you, at first I didn't really care, because to me it was something that was out of my control, one, and two, it was something that happened more than enough for people to not overreact about it. But that was definitely not the case, because obviously people are going to overreact about the slightest things, but I didn't think that at all. And I feel like my parents made more of a deal out of it than I did, because my friends were trying to keep me in high spirits. So instead of showing me the post that, people were basically dragging me, they would send the post where they might make a little smart comment or two that they know I would laugh at, because I do have a very awful sense of humor. And I tried to use my humor to not cover up, but more like not put myself in a dark place. So, yeah.
I get that. And who would you say was your biggest support system? I know you talk about your friends supported you, but who do you think was your biggest support system throughout everything?
I think my mom.
Okay.
I think she ended up being one of the biggest support systems throughout the entire ordeal, even up to now. She was the one that whenever she would come home and see me crying or something, she would be like, hey, come on. It's not the end of the world. You're going to bounce back. You're a hot gal. And I think because she was one of the ones that didn't come with the whole, oh, I'm so disappointed in you situation. She came with, it happens all the time. You need to lift your head up and continue moving forward. And that definitely helped keep me from going into my shell and basically living in my head over the entire situation, especially throughout the month that it escalated until I left. Within that entire month was really a very challenging place for me.
And I know your dad took it the hardest. Did he eventually ease up a bit or become a bit softer to the situation?
Well, it took a while. He initially stopped talking to me for a few weeks or so, and obviously I was upset at the same time. So we had a really rocky situation, but I feel like when I went away, that our bond kind of mended itself, because I like to say absence makes the heart grow fonder. And within that time, when my mother didn't call me like every 5 minutes, he was the one to check in at least 2-3 times a week, and he'll be like, even though they were like 5-minute conversations, they turned from I'm okay and just hanging up the phone to, hey, so today I saw this girl and she had this weird hairstyle, but I think you'd like it. And I tried to take a picture, and then, eventually we started getting to the point where we could laugh and joke about certain things together. And now I feel like our relationship it's still a bit rocky at times, but in his head, it's like, it already happened. There's nothing you can do about it. You just gotta put on your big girl panties and move on with life.
Because at the end of the day, he's your dad and he loves you,
Yes.
He just needed some time, which happens to most fathers. They just need some time. They're usually the quiet ones.
To blow off steam.
Yeah, they need some time to blow off some steam. And in addition to your parents or your grandparents, close family members, would you say that any of your friends or any other persons treated you differently after everything happened?
That is one thing I must say I don't find happened at all.
Okay.
I did have an incident where I had to cut off a few people because they were just being extra for no reason. But majority of the people that I was actually close with, and those are kind of a few people because I don't really tolerate a lot of things and people annoy me really quickly. But the people I actually some of the girls I went to school with, that I would consider my friends and not just acquaintances, they were, I don't know if they were being fake and talking behind my back, but to my face, they seemed very supportive of the situation, and they were more or less trying to give me a pep talk all the time rather than dragging me about it. So I feel like a lot of people were on my side. They were supportive, they were considerate, even when I would have my random mood swings and I'd get sad and be a bit rude, they would still, have patience with me, and I was really thankful for that. Because, they always say you only know who your real friends are when something bad happens.
That is so true, trust me. You had a lot of supporters, but I know there must have been days where you were alone and, thought about it, kept repeating it over in your head. So how did you overcome all of it to get to this point now that you can say that you're still that girl, you are able to talk about it? How did you get to that point?
I initially just poured myself into whatever I was doing. I tried my best to ignore everything. And I used work, I used school, I used dance, I used drawing, painting, poetry, books, whatever I could find to keep my mind occupied so that I didn't overthink. And then I am also not a person to hold grudges, so it was easy for me to kind of just get over it. I wouldn't say I am completely over it because there's still some days when I would see people look at me and then look twice, and probably because of the blue hair, but in the back of my mind it's like, okay, do they recognize me because of it? And then even with relationships, it's a bit difficult because then, somebody may message me on Instagram or Snapchat and try to have a genuine conversation, but then I would think, okay, they're only messaging me because they would have saw it and probably think that I'm easy, or it was really difficult, and it still is difficult to get over the whole stigma, not even from people, but just the idea that I created of myself.
I can definitely understand that. So what would you say was your biggest fear to return back to Antigua?
Well, you can say back to home because, it is home. I don't think I had a fear. I was just, because I didn't necessarily want to go at first, I was just ready to be home. And for me, it was either you see me and mind your business, or you come talk to me to my face. It was either or, and I was locked and loaded for anybody that came and had something to say. But I guess that wasn't the outcome. I'm still ready. Still, no. Actually, when I came back, it was posted again, and Okay, I should back up a little. While I was away, it was posted on a porn site.
Wow.
And the guy who was in it as well was the one who alerted me. And, I had a whole, like, what kind of moment? Like, what sick person would do that? Like,
who
come
still
on.
has it?
Who, like, exactly. It's my 9 days have been up. I'm living my best life. Are you mad or something? Like, I just didn't understand it. And he was the one to kind of help me get it down. We reported it over and over. I had emailed the website. It was a whole big drama. Then when I came back, it was posted on Twitter. And that was only brought to my attention because a friend of my mom, I guess one of the girls that I teach at dance class, her mother would have seen it and called my mom. And my mom was like, did you know that it was posted again? And I was just over it. I was completely over it because why? Like, it made its rounds. It had its effect. Why on earth would you bring it up again? Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. And I was not bothered that it was posted again because, hey, everybody, if not everybody has seen it, you got the effect that you wanted by posting it the first time. So what effect did you think was going to happen again? I was going to come back, you were going to post it, and I was going to curl up back into my shell? No. No.
That kind of answered my next question I was going to ask. So did it resurrect similar feelings? How did you cope with it this time around? Or were you better prepared since it was already out?
This time around, I feel I was much better prepared because, as I said, I was ready to square up. But, but I was also at peace. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I wasn't confused. I was just at peace. And I realized that it isn't me. It's somebody who has a problem with me, or someone who just wants to see people drag somebody else for their entertainment. Somebody who likes ugly. That was all it was. And when I finally told myself that and drilled that into my head that it wasn't my fault, I realized you could just be living your best life. It doesn't even matter because at this point, anybody who posts it or bring it up again, they just have nothing else to do with their life.
So Sherona, did you at some point ever confront the guy in the video? Did he ever confess to what happened?
Actually, we've had conversations about it multiple times. Each time it was reposted or talked about, we would have had a conversation, and he has kept his story the same, that he wasn't the one who would have let it gotten out to the public. And I like to see the good in people, and I have always taken his word for it, and I believe he's telling the truth because, I mean, it would have not only implicated me, but it would have caused a bit of hell for him as well too. So I don't think I ever got a full confession as to say, well, yeah, I did it, or whatever the case is, but I have confronted him, and I mean, if it is the case where it was him, then that's him and God problem. But as for me, you already would have said what you wanted to say to me, so that was it.
Okay. And you always hear that people talk about forgiveness, and they say forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. And you can move on. It's so that you can move on free, you know? Do you think that you can someday completely forgive him, or?
I can't say it right now. I still have a bit of malice towards him, not even trying. Yeah, I still get angry if I see him. I still get angry if he messages me. I would still get angry if he asks why I'm behaving this way towards him. And I kind of just want to reach through the phone and punch him. But at the same time, I am slowly getting to the point where it's like I have to condition myself. There's nothing more you can do.
And most of the times it's harder for the female than it is for the guy.
It always is. Always.
And even with all those signs and warnings, you know that people, especially young people, will continue to participate in this, whether it's taking pictures or videos. So what advice would you give these young people?
I tell y'all to stop, but I know y'all don't listen. So I think two simple things. Don't ever listen to people when they say no face, no case. That is definitely not true. That is as false as can be. People will always recognize you, whether it's friends, whether it's somebody you're close to. They're always going to kind of piece together puzzles. And obviously people love ugly, so they're going to want to know who it is. And people become detectives when they want to find something out. So that's my first thing. Don't ever believe the whole no face, no case. And number two, if you are going to, because I guess it's a normal thing now, make sure it's somebody you trust. Make sure you know that, and make sure you keep their own too. Just in case yours gets out, you post theirs.
Really? I don't advise that, okay?
If she doesn't advise it, but I do. But anyway, make sure it's somebody that you fully, wholeheartedly trust. Because at the end of the day, what's trust after is broken.
Can we really say that though? Can we really say make sure it's somebody that we really trust? Because even with that,
yes.
Even with that, friendships, we lose friends, we lose family members.
See, that's why the blackmail is a good idea now. Because even if you all fall out, you have that whole, remember this now. So
at the end of the day, I think if you're adult enough to make that decision, you have to be adult enough to face whatever comes with it.
Exactly.
Just in case.
Yeah.
You know.
You always have to make sure you know that, hey, there's always a possibility that this could get out. And you just have to make sure that you're prepared even if it doesn't happen.
That is true. We also know that quite a bit of people here in Antigua has been through this experience, and maybe they're feeling discouraged, or maybe they're not as strong as you are. They feel like their reputation has been ruined and there's no coming back from it. So what piece of advice would you give to these people specifically?
So for anybody, girl or boy, who has been through an experience like I have, I just want to say that you're not alone. And I know it sounds cheesy, but you're not. Don't ever think you are. You can always go to somebody you trust to give you a little picker-upper, even if it has to be yourself, and just take time to forgive yourself. It is not your fault. It never was your fault, and you will definitely come back from it. And secondly, remember to forgive. Forgiveness is the key to everything. Forgive yourself, forgive your friends, forgive the person. Just make sure that you know that it's not the end of the world. It really, really isn't. It's gonna last maybe 6 months, if even that, a week, if that much. But it's not the end of the world, and you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be completely fine. Remember, I said that, okay? You're gonna be okay.
Wow, Sherona. I want to thank you so much for being here today and taking the time out to share your personal experiences. It was great. You will inspire so many people. I want to thank you again.
Thank you. It was my pleasure being here.
Yes. With that, we've come to the end of another episode of the Still That Girl series. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And always remember, you are still that girl. Until next time, bye. We're going to talk about a very, and as a first, keep it PG.
PG.
I have to remind you.
Okay.
Was the tape, was it a mutual? She was there?
Facebook or something saw persons making reference to it, and somebody sent it to her. You know, people love nigga business. And there I am, sitting down at work. Telephone rings. Hello, my mom. Sherona. Said, yes, mom. Because at this point, I already knew what was happening. So I kind of was already expecting.
Do you have an inspirational story to share? Would you like to be featured on our next episode? If so, please contact us using the information displayed on the screen. If you'd prefer to tell your personal story anonymously, please complete the form by clicking the link provided in our bio.